Is a major shakeup brewing in Dallas? The Cowboys are suddenly without a head coach after Mike McCarthy's surprising departure, leaving fans and analysts alike wondering what's next for one of the NFL's most high-profile teams. The speculation swirls about possible replacements and what might have prompted the unexpected move. All eyes are on Jerry Jones and his next big decision. Let's explore what we know and how this could shape the Cowboys' future. First, many people are asking, why did McCarthy leave Dallas Cowboys? Mike McCarthy stepped down as head coach of the Dallas Cowboys after deciding to end contract extension talks with owner Jerry Jones. The team had let McCarthy coach through the 2024 season without offering a preseason extension, leading to contract negotiations after the season ended. McCarthy ultimately chose to walk away from the discussions, surprising Jones, who expected further talks. Jones stated that both sides mutually agreed to part ways after reviewing the team's performance and future plans. McCarthy led the Cowboys to 3 consecutive 12-5 seasons before a disappointing 7-10 finish in 2024. However, his 5-year tenure saw only 1 playoff victory, and the team struggled to make progress in the postseason. The Cowboys have now begun their search for a new head coach, with names like Deion Sanders and Kellen being linked to the job. Meanwhile, McCarthy is reportedly interviewing with teams such as the Chicago Bears and the New Orleans Saints. Injuries and inconsistent performances in 2024 impacted the Cowboys' season, contributing to McCarthy's departure. McCarthy's overall record as a Cowboys head coach was 49-35. He previously won a Super Bowl with the Green Bay Packers. Despite parting ways, Jones expressed respect for McCarthy's leadership during difficult times. The Cowboys are now searching for their 9th head coach under Jones, aiming to return to playoff success and Super Bowl contention. So with that, we're going to take a look at 5 Mike McCarthy replacement Cowboys must target as their next head coach. The Dallas Cowboys are the latest team to part with their head coach and begin a new era in 2025. Mike McCarthy, who was out of a contract at the end of this season, was unable to come to an agreement for the 2025 campaign. This led to the two sides mutually parting ways after a 7-10 campaign. The Dallas job, despite Jerry Jones' interference, is a very attractive opening. Dallas's division is by no means a nightmare. Ownership is constantly willing to spend money and acquire star players, and a top 10 quarterback in Dak Prescott is already locked up long term. These 5 coaches could be upgrades over McCarthy as they have the schematic knowledge and leadership capabilities needed to get the most out of Prescott and get a very talented roster back to the NFC's elite tier after being knocked off their pedestal. So at number 5, we have Deion Sanders, of course, head coach at the Colorado Buffaloes. This is likely not going to happen. However, if you don't believe Jerry will at least consider this, I have a bridge to sell you. Sanders, Cowboys legend, may not have a desire to coach in the pros, but the Dallas job could be the one opening he would consider that did not have his son Shador on board. Then number 4, Robert Saleh, former head coach of the New York Jets. Saleh was unfairly scapegoated to a degree in New York, a defensive mastermind who built a juggernaut of a unit with the Jets, which fell apart after he was fired. His fatal flaw was bringing in poor offensive coaches and quarterbacks. Having Prescott ready to go could be very appealing for him, as his defensive wizardry, paired with Micah Parsons, could be scary for opponents. Then number 3, Brian Flores, defensive coordinator at the Minnesota Vikings. Flores wore out his welcome in Miami after being described as too tyrannical and hot-headed, but he was still able to perform at a 500 level despite some wretched rosters. The architect of arguably the most havoc-inducing defense in the league, Flores' second go-around could be much better if he poaches a few names from Minnesota's highly regarded offensive staff. In number 2, at no surprise, Kellen Moore, offensive coordinator at the Philadelphia Eagles. Moore, the former Cowboys quarterback McCarthy retained, made his name as Dallas's pass-happy offensive coordinator. After helping Saquon Barkley run for 2,000 yards, Moore may have done enough with Philadelphia this season to finally get the head coaching shot he deserves. Prescott will be very happy about this decision. And then finally, number 1, Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator, the Detroit Lions. Johnson is a top name on every coaching search, and it's easy to see why. A creative genius who built a buzzsaw of an offense in Detroit, Johnson would help take Prescott to new heights in 2025. Jones is clearly willing to write a big enough check if he really wants to bring Johnson to town. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Who do you think the Cowboys should bring in as their next head coach? And now on to our next topic. CeeDee Lamb has made his feelings known about Deion Sanders as the Cowboys head coach. It is only a matter of time until the Dallas Cowboys confirm their first head coaching interview in the aftermath of moving on from Mike McCarthy. While Deion Sanders probably won't be the first interview, he was the first name linked with the opening with any sort of legitimacy. Some folks believe Sanders is using the Cowboys as leverage to secure a raise in his next contract with Colorado. In return, by being linked to Deion, Jones gets Dallas to dominate the conversation during the playoffs when they otherwise would be an afterthought. That may be what is ultimately happening here, but multiple reports have confirmed there is mutual interest between Sanders and the Cowboys. Sanders would command the respect of his players, but it remains to be seen how faces of the franchise, Prescott, Lamb, and Parsons, would respond if he's hired. We know all three superstars appreciated McCarthy. The team would do well to consider their opinions in the decision-making process. Well, we seemingly know how Lamb would feel about Sanders in Dallas. Lamb liked NFL on Fox's Instagram post about Jerry Jones reaching out to Sanders concerning Dallas's head coaching vacancy. Schultz was the first to break the Sanders news Monday night. It sure seems like Lamb would endorse Deion to Dallas. Liking a post on social media can obviously mean many different things, but it is impossible to be left with any other conclusion than Lamb likes the idea. That should send a message to Jerry Jones. While every player is different, that Lamb is seemingly in favor of Sanders replacing McCarthy suggests that Prescott, Parsons, and others would be too. How could they not? Sanders is one of the best and most decorated football players in the history of the game. First ballot Hall of Famer, Sanders won 2 Super Bowls in his career, including with Dallas in '95. He was a first-team All-Pro 9 times at cornerback and won Defensive Player of the Year in '94. There is an aura about Deion that can't be found anywhere else. He is probably the only coaching candidate other than Bill Belichick that Jones may allow full control. And even if he didn't, Sanders would challenge him. That is exactly what this franchise needs. None of that means Sanders will be a good NFL coach. However, it seems that Lamb would buy into Sanders wholeheartedly. That is half the battle for head coaches. The degree of difficulty behind rallying an entire locker room of grown men and convincing them to go to war for you is often overlooked as a vital intangible for head coaches. And speaking of the Cowboys' first head coaching interview, it actually was a home run. The Dallas Cowboys are conducting a wide-range search for their next head coach after such an unceremonious end to the Mike McCarthy era. The search began with former head coach and Robert Saleh, who was looking for a second chance to prove he can lead a team. He was fired by the Jets midway through his 4th season. Considering all of the Woody Johnson-induced craziness behind the scenes, the performance of the team after he was fired, and how beloved he was by his players, many believe he got a raw deal. Saleh drew praise from within the Jets and around the league for his defensive acumen. The Cowboys, who traditionally value past head coaching experience when trying to fill an opening, want a defensive mastermind on their squad. He might be the best available option. According to Ian Rappaport, the Cowboys are expected to interview him for their vacant head coaching role. This would be the first confirmed interview after some ceaseless Deion Sanders buzz early in the process. Saleh went 20-36 as the Jets head coach, failing to make the playoffs. However, when you only get 5 full games with Rodgers and 34 with Zach Wilson, what was he supposed to do? Saleh built the Jets into a defense that ranked 1st in EPA per play and 3rd in success rate since the start of the 2022 season. They fell to 28th in that statistic in 2024 after he was fired. On one hand, Saleh would have a fully formed Dak Prescott, which could allow him to focus almost entirely on defense and leadership. Saleh's work with Sauce Gardner could be just what Trayvon Diggs needs. Micah Parsons could be unleashed pass rusher in his scheme. On the other, Saleh's inability to put together a quality offensive coaching staff was perhaps his biggest mistake as Jets head coach. Saleh had yet to put together a winning season with New York, which could lead many to wonder if he is better served as a Steve Spagnuolo type who crushes defense, yet fails when overseeing everything. The Cowboys will need to act fast if they want Saleh, as there is seemingly a 100% guaranteed chance of him taking defensive coordinator job, none of his head coaching interviews lead to anything. He seems like a perfect candidate to get it right with a second chance. Dallas may be a good spot for him. A beloved former Cowboys coach is already getting head coach interviews, and it's not with Dallas. The Cowboys haven't even started interviewing head coach candidates, but that hasn't stopped insiders from linking several candidates to the job. Being that Jerry Jones loves to control the narrative, it's no surprise that the legendary Deion Sanders was the first name mentioned with any sort of legitimacy. Sanders has had success at every stop at the college level. He's turned Colorado from a bottom feeder to a nationally respected program. Part of the appeal behind Sanders is he might keep Mike Zimmer as defensive coordinator. Zimmer was the Cowboys' defensive back coach when Sanders played for Dallas. Zimmer was even on Sanders' Colorado staff in 2023 as a consultant. While Mike McCarthy had several respected assistants on his staff, it is highly unlikely that any of them received head coaching buzz. Zimmer is the only one with previous experience in that regard. Now 68 years old, it's doubtful that Zimmer desires to be a head coach again. Dan Quinn was obviously a hot commodity during last year's hiring cycle. In a stunning development, one of Quinn's current assistants in Washington has entered the head coaching sweepstakes, but not in Dallas. According to NFL Network Tom Pelissero, the Jets have requested an interview with Commanders defensive coordinator Joe Witt Jr. for their head coaching job. The Jets admittedly haven't interviewed 9 other candidates and have requested interviews with several other assistants. This is nothing less than what Witt deserves. Hired by the Cowboys in 2021 to coach their secondary and passing defense, Witt was a popular pick among fans last year to replace Quinn as defensive coordinator after Quinn took the Commanders' job. Quinn lured Witt away to coordinate Washington's defense while Dallas molded its options. Witt has enjoyed success at various stops in the NFL. As Brown's defensive passing game coordinator and DB's coach in 2019, Witt led Cleveland to top 10 finishes in passing defense and interceptions. The Packers led the NFL in interceptions twice during Witt's tenure as cornerbacks coach. He also oversaw career years from multiple Dallas defensive backs, including Trayvon Diggs, Jaron Kearse, Donovan Wilson, and most recently, Daron Bland. Despite severe personnel shortcomings in the secondary, Washington's defense ranked 13th in total defense and 18th in opponent scoring this season under Witt. Significant improvement after they ranked dead last in both categories last year. Witt might not have had the head coaching experience of other candidates this cycle, but his reputation around the league speaks for itself. While 2024 marked his first opportunity to coordinate a defense, he's coached in the NFL in some capacity for 18 years. He might not get the Jets job, but that he's on the radar of NFL teams is a testament to the sparkling resume he's accumulated in his coaching career. It's a shame the Cowboys didn't do more last offseason to keep him. And next, Mike Zimmer has given the Cowboys an obvious decision with cryptic comments on his future. It remains ridiculous that it took the Dallas Cowboys a full week after the season ended to come to a conclusion on Mike McCarthy. The two sides reportedly, like we had mentioned, did not see eye to eye on a contract. It is speculated that McCarthy wanted the security of a long-term deal, while Jerry Jones preferred a 1 or 2 year contract loaded with incentives. While McCarthy was looking out for himself and his household first and foremost, he also negotiated on behalf of his coaching staff. When referring to McCarthy's future, they're also talking about every other coach under his umbrella. After failing to strike a deal with the Cowboys, McCarthy informed his staff, including talented assistants Mike Zimmer, Al Harris, and John Fassel, that they are free to pursue other jobs. The team should bring all 3 back, but Zimmer should be the priority. McCarthy's departure obviously complicates that. Zimmer himself is contemplating retirement, and there are a lot of factors at play, including Zimmer's recent comments to NFL Network insider Tom Pelissero. Cowboys defense coordinator Mike Zimmer tells me all options are open on his future after Dallas and Mike McCarthy parted ways. Much like Deion Sanders' initial response to Jerry Jones calling him about the Cowboys' head coaching job, Zimmer's statement leaves the door open for all possibilities. It sounds like Zimmer is open to a Cowboys return, but he also left retirement on the table. If the right opportunity presents itself, though, it seems that Zimmer still wants to call it defense, whether in Dallas or elsewhere. And that might be up to the team's next head coach. Dallas would be smart to allow their next head coach to fill out their staff as they see it. Mike McCarthy inherited Kellen Moore, and that relationship strained during Moore's final season as OC in 2022. That is some of the appeal behind Sanders. As an elite recruiter, odds are Sanders would assemble a home run staff that might include Zimmer as defensive coordinator. Regardless if Sanders gets the job, Zimmer returning as defensive coordinator should be one of the Cowboys' top priorities. That Zimmer hasn't announced in his retirement suggests he wants to coach again in 2025. He proved this season that he still has his fastball as an X's and O's whiz. Unless a 68-year-old doesn't get along with Dallas's next head coach, he needs to be back calling the defense. Let me know your thoughts on the topics we covered in the comment section below, and give me your predictions for the next head coach of Dallas, but also give me some wild picks you would make to become the next head coach. I honestly, it's highly unlikely, but I do see Deion Sanders taking the job. We know Dallas has got to make a big splash, like they said on, what was it? I think it was Rich Eisen, that they're going to make a big splash. So I'm predicting it's Deion Sanders, or he signs a big check and gets Bill Belichick. Let me know your thoughts. Of course, if you want to support the channel, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/thebigd. Your support helps the channel grow, upgrade our equipment, bring in new hosts, be able to pay them, and take this show on the road. As always, your support help can make that happen. And of course, give us a thumbs up if you like the video, hit that subscribe button down below, the bell notification button to be notified of future videos, and of course, you can follow us on all social media platforms. The links are in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.